This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Dr. Salas. And we're going to talk today about a lot of different things from your background. But one of the main topics is how to reprogram your subconscious blocks to achieve vibrant health. And then we'll talk about, initially, talk about your story and like why you're in this space and what you're doing today. But one of the things we always ask any guest before we get to the heart of your story is like, what motivates you and why do you do what you do?
Well, I do what I do, and it kind of links to my story because I used to live on my boat in south of France,
Mm.
and I used to rent boat, and I had a calling, and I saw myself helping others. So I decided to make a long story short. I ended up, in America. I was from France, living in south of France, minding my own business, if I can say that. And after I ended up, become a chiropractic physician in America and in Kansas City, Missouri, which is right in the Midwest, right? It's not too close to the Mediterranean Sea like I used to be, sir.
Yeah. I live in New England, so I'm next to the Atlantic Ocean. Maine and Cape Cod and
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like that.
great.
But yeah. So you're from France, and now you're still in the U.S. right now.
Oh yeah, I came in 1993, and I love this country because it actually changed my life, right? So on so
Yeah.
many different levels.
Well, a lot of
And
I do talk to a lot of immigrants that come in, and there's an entrepreneurial spirit within the immigrant population that usually you're able to do. You come here with like what you have an idea and you take advantage of a lot of things. Sometimes Americans we don't take advantage of our own opportunities, but that's another story. But
yeah, this country give me an education, right? And what I like about the Anglo-Saxon culture is like how practical it is, right? Straight to
mm,
the point. From France and Latino, it's more like we're going to talk about the exception forever, which
yeah,
doesn't really
yeah,
matter too much. So I like the approach of the Anglo-Saxon culture.
yeah. I understand what you're saying. Um, so you have come up with some processes for breaking the cycle, like, and so I don't know if you want to talk like how did you get into this practice and then come up with the practices that we're going to talk about, like
Sure.
in terms of reprogramming subconscious blocks. But maybe there was a whole journey to getting there. So I don't know if you want
Yes.
to give us a little background on like how
Yeah, I
you.
think it will be interesting because when I started to practice chiropractic, I noticed that you will get people better, and after you reach a plateau, and just for them to stay better, they have to come to see you. So, in my book, when you've got a problem that it can
Mm,
be in like a health problem, relationship problem, a prosperity problem, you need two things to resolve your problem, sir. You need number one, you need to find out what's causing your problem, right? And number
mhm.
two, you need to know how to fix it. If those two requirements are done, there's no more problem and you can move on. So I found out that, okay, with chiropractic was not enough. So I started to go a little bit deeper and take care of, okay, what's creating the inflammation in the body, right?
Like the root cause. You're going for the root cause because a lot of
The
times,
root cause,
yeah.
yeah, that's number one though, but because everybody, of course, going to talk about the root cause. But the number two, you need to know how to fix it, right?
Hmm.
And you cannot do patchwork. That's very important. So anyway, I had after that big practice, if you will have come to that practice, I will tell you, okay, which this organ is under stress, what's causing the stress. You do have food sensitivity, maybe some yeast overgrowth and things like that, right? And so, I mean, I had 4 employees and was seeing 250 patients a week. I mean, that was pretty good, right? And so I thought I was doing the right thing. So I was living my passion. I was lucky enough. My mission in life was given to me when I was in south of France. And so everything was fine, right? But pretty soon I burned out and I was overworked.
So much work. It sounds like you had a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and my I was so focused on helping other people that I was unbalanced, right? And
Hmm.
so, well, I got married when I was in Kansas City with a woman from France that I met in a bar, and we had that daughter. And all the time I was coming home, I was there, but I was not present. So my relationship went down the drain, right? And so, when your relationship, within a year, here's what happened to me.
Hmm.
I ended up divorced, right? Number two, so because I felt depressed and I was not focused on other work, and so my practice went from thriving to failing. I was by myself after. And on top of that, I got diagnosed, with early stage of colon cancer. So
Oh, wow.
imagine that.
That's
Imagine that. I will recommend you what to do, right,
yeah.
to heal yourself, to decrease your inflammation. And I was doing my program, obviously, and I got diagnosed with a second killer in this country. So I have to rethink
Mm.
everything that I was taking for granted, everything I knew about relationship, everything I knew about health, actually, which is my job, right? And everything I knew about prosperity. And so I wanted to find out, sir, what was the force behind it that make me sabotage myself
Oh,
um,
yeah.
at the
Self-sabotage.
health level. Yeah, and because I knew it was coming from me, right? I mean, I never had the victim mentality of blaming my wife and all that, although I did a little bit, right? When you divorce, that's fair
Oh,
enough.
yeah.
But anyway, so because my dad showed me that to have a victim mentality is like negativity, right? And everything is turning against you, and you cannot heal. For example, he was so negative and controlling and sometimes abusive. To be honest with you, what happened? It's like he got disabled at 40 years old. So
Mm.
the negativity was, of course, directed to other people, but mainly to himself. And I see that man destroying his health. I see that man destroying his mental health, right? And so he taught me actually what not to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I've never been compliant, because, people will call him and say, "Hey, Jean, how are you doing?" But they were saying more about, how is your disease, right? And after he got the attention because he was sick, and he got the love because he was sick. So why changing, right? I mean, that's how you get the things. And after you caught up in that cycle, and so for some people, it's hard to get out of it. And my dad never did.
Yeah,
And
it's like a loop.
so,
It's a bad loop. People get stuck in
yeah,
these loops, and then
exactly.
they get comfortable within like the discomfort.
Yes, because that becomes their identity. Right?
Yeah.
The identity is to be sick, for example, with a health issue, right? So if they lose that identity, I mean, that's first of all, it's like you don't know what's going to happen, right? And they lose the love that they got from other people. That's what they're afraid of. So they just make sure subconsciously, and here's the key word. I'm
Mm.
not saying that they do that on purpose and say, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to get sick," and because no, most of the time, it's subconsciously. Right. So I knew subconsciously, I knew that sometimes we cannot help it. Like what you say, man, I cannot help it. I'm always attracting the same kind of relationship with women or men
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Right. So I knew about that even before I become a physician. Right. But I just really wanted to crack the code, what happened to me. So I started to study the mind. Right. We all talk about mind body connection. Right. But do we really know what the mind is? And
Mm.
so, you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
I call that decoding the mind. And so what I started to do, I started to just read and research. And what I found was unbelievable. I mean, things that you would think everybody will know about that, right? You Google it, you're going to find it, right? That's
Yeah.
easy, but not. And so here's what I found. The first things, it's like we're living in a two separate world at the same time. So what do I mean by that? I mean, we've got the inner world and the outer world, right? And so the outer world is what we call the conscious mind. It's your self-identity, your personality, who you think you are, your perception of reality, what you can do and what you think you cannot do, right? It's what you're aware of, your thought, your emotion, your behavior, and your action, right? We all know about that, right? And it's can be even called the ego if you want, right? And after you've got another mind, and it's called unconscious, or I like to call it, to make it simple, subconscious mind, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
subconscious mind, actually, what it does is record everything you have been doing in your life, sir, from age zero, if I may say that, to now. Right. And so also your skill as a podcaster, your skill as a man, they are stored there. Right. Also, what happened in your body that is automatic, right? We call that autonomic nervous system, like your heartbeat, your breathing that you don't have to think, and everything that perform automatically in the body, that's coming from your subconscious mind. right? Just to give you an idea how powerful the subconscious mind is, the conscious mind processes data at 11 bits per second. The subconscious mind processes data at 11 million bits
Wow.
per second. All right? You see what I mean?
That's big.
So
That's
that
big.
was that was the first eye-opening. This is so powerful, right? And the second one, I mean, guys, you better be sitting because you're not going to believe it. So what is the ratio between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, right? So how many percent is conscious mind? How many percent is subconscious mind? Well, depends who you're reading. Your conscious mind, who you think you are, sir, it's only 5 to 10% of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that the subconscious mind is 90 to 95% of your mind. And yet, what we focus on,
It's
who we
conscious.
think we are, but only the conscious mind. So it means what? That we're using only 5 to 10% of our mind power and brain power. What's
Yeah.
wrong with this?
That's like the big trick. I mean, that's the big revelation that like we have, because I work in IT. I'm a software guy,
I see.
and everybody's always like all excited about all this AI, right? But like the human brain is more powerful than any computer that ever been built, and most likely will ever be built. But a lot of times we don't know how to like in programming. I can reprogram a server. I can reprogram anything. I can actually change the foundational structure of any computer very easily. I can retrain it to make it do something that it wasn't doing before. But a lot of times, like with humans, like we don't realize how we can actually tap into the same concept.
Well, exactly. What's about creativity? The computer has no creativity.
Yeah.
They cannot be duplicating things, right? Even with AI now, with they say that they can be smarter than us, right? But what kind of smart are we talking about? We're talking about how fast. I mean, I'm not a specialist, but they call that singularity, right? So now they reach a point that they say they are more intelligent than us. Okay, that's fine. But what's about the creativity? What's about also the connection with spirit? I think, sir, we are in a turning point. Like it's a privilege to live now. Either we go into transhumanism, which
Mm-hmm.
basically, we're gonna be able to, AI is gonna interfere with us from within, right?
Yeah.
And so that's gonna be the end of our humanity, of our spirituality, our creativity, right?
Yeah. It's a
Because
big
you see
danger.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, being a creative person, I'm a musician, and I
I
run
see.
into these tech bros that say, I can replace an actor, I can replace a painter, I can replace a musician with AI, because AI will give you something that's different than a Google prompt. AI, if you tell it to come up with a drawing, it will go into its library of what it's been trained on and give you something. And it will give you something that's kind of close to what you asked for. But what it's missing is the heart, the soul, the spirit that a human artist takes everything they've ever experienced in their subconscious mind and their conscious mind and other stuff that's outside, and then gives you that unique piece of point in time art. The computer is basically just taking whatever it's been learning on, but it has no personality. It has no
Yeah, it's
soul. It has no spirit. So it's missing that. But some people will see it's like junk food art to me. It will give you something, and it looks like it's like, okay, well it's something, right? But it's not art.
I think it's a powerful copy, right? And
Yeah,
it can be more powerful with us, but because it's just faster and all that, right? But it's only a copy, right? And a copy is never better than the original. And again, like you mentioned, the creativity. So how do we get creative? What can we use our subconscious mind to be creative? That's a very important thing. So again, so what I found out, just to go back, that you've got the conscious and subconscious. Subconscious is super powerful, but we don't know very well how to speak the same language, right? What if we can speak the same language with a subconscious mind, right? And tell him, hey, I don't want this anymore, I want this. Right.
hmm
And so that's what that was my focus, because I saw this is so important. So And at the same time, when I realized that that subconscious mind can be programmed,
Yeah, you can change
right?
that mindset. You can reprogram it,
Yes,
right? You can retrain it.
exactly. If it can be programmed once, like that's your specialty actually. That's what you do, right? If you can reprogram once, you can deprogram, reprogram,
Yeah,
change it, right?
all the time. You can wipe it. I mean, like we can computers.
Exactly.
I can actually totally get rid of the foundation, like the structural foundation of a program. I can rewrite it. I can actually
So,
add new structures that didn't
well,
exist, which means it's going to go down different paths that it originally wasn't going to go into. It's been re-architected. So I believe the mind is the same way, because we're
yes,
trying to make the computer, we're thinking of it in the same terms, but it's not as sophisticated. It's
it's
very
only a copy.
simplistic.
It's
Yeah,
only.
it's
I
it's
think the
very
best way to simplify it, it's only a copy. And so what happens? So how it can be programmed? So first of all, if you want to go with the analogy with a computer, let's see the mind as a computer, right? So the brain will be the hard drive. That's all it is. People make a big deal out of a brain. It's only an interface. Interface. That's it. So your brain is your hard drive. Your software will be the subconscious mind. The output of the software is your conscious mind. And
mm,
your behavior is what happened in the screen of life.
mhm.
So if you don't have a good, as you know, if you don't have a good quality software, well, the screen of life's
Yeah, it's
gonna
we
suck.
call it
I'm
garbage
sorry.
in,
Yeah,
garbage out. Like
exactly. It's not going to be good. You're not going to like it, right? It's not going to serve you, right? But if you got a high quality, meanings, less negative programming, right? If you got a high quality of software, well, you're going to love your life. You're going to love the screen of life, right? And so that's basically it. It's not complicated. We can use like I can use big term and things like that, but who cares? I want an 11 years old to be able to understand what I say,
yeah.
because that should be common knowledge. And it's not.
No, it's not. Because I mean,
It's not.
well, a lot of times we run into like initially when I got into programming, it was all like mainframes, right? And they were limited in what they can do, right? And so today, in today's world, the old world of programming, we had this concept called waterfall. Waterfall development is that you had to have everything kind of known. You had to have everything known, but the problem is like there are a lot of unknowns. In today's development, we have agile, which means it's incremental development. So whatever I don't know today, I will code for today. And I will have an iterative process where, like on your cell phone, your apps continually update, because yesterday we didn't know X, but now today we know Y. So we actually have the program learn and correct itself or give you new functionality, which means like I have to be willing to know what I don't know and adapt and relearn and re kind of program the whole thing continually. So a continuous development. So I don't always have the answer today, but I might get it tomorrow.
It's the same with the mind. It's a journey, right? It's a never-ending process. But this proves us that we can program it. And that was the key, right? It means we can change it, right? So
We can
now,
change. Yeah, we don't have to be stuck. You
but
know
in
that.
order to, yes, but in order to change it, again, you need to speak the same language, right? Because, for example, let's put it that way. We've got technical difficulties, right? And my Mac shut down. So how I'm going to have to explain to you, I'm going to use what? Sign language. I'm going to use whatever, I'm going to grimace. I may write something, if the video is still. So the communication is going to be big time impacted. In my field, sir, that's how I feel. When people, they say, oh, we need to reprogram the limiting belief. You need to journal. You need to do lots of repetitions, some affirmation forever. And hopefully, it will happen. No. That's not how mind clearing works. When you've got a good communication, I've got my mic on, you've got your microphone on, and we can go in depth, right? In
Hmm.
deep conversation. I used to travel a lot, sir. And the most frustrating things that I experienced, it's like when there was a good guy, I wanted to talk to him and I couldn't because I wouldn't speak the same language. That was the most frustrating things. And that's the same in my field. I feel that they're not talking the same language, and I'm going to explain. So, if you allowed me, I will like to explain the audience how we get programmed to start with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they say like from 0 to 6 to 8 years old, we are more like sponges, right? So our conscious mind doesn't have too many filters. So what we are exposed to, we take that, we assume it's the truth, right? And so with repetition, with assumption, become program. So there's good and bad program, right? The good program, we call that empowering belief. The bad program, or the program that are not serving us now, but maybe they were serving us before, are called limiting belief, right? So basically, I mean, what we want to get rid of those limiting belief, right? Okay, keeping those empowering one. So let me give you an example to just make sure that people understand. I'm going to give you an example. Let's take the example of a little girl that sees her dad, that is a drunk, come back every night and beat up the mom. Mm-hmm. What do you think that little girl, when she grows up, what kind of romantic relationship she's going to attract?
You're going to attract the same type of thing that she's seen. I mean, it's just going to mimic it.
Exactly. So what does it mean? Because when you ask that woman right now, that she's a woman, you ask, hey, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom? The conscious mind is going to say, heck no. But the subconscious mind has been programmed
and trained
as men are predators and women are prey, right? Makes sense. But now there's another question that comes up. How she's going to attract that guy? She's going to shake his hand and say, hey, can you beat me up, please? No, it's not going to happen that way. So it means our subconscious mind are connected to each other. And somehow the subconscious mind is going to make her feel for that guy and fall in love, basically.
Like a law of attraction. Like you're going to pick up the frequency. Like I'm a synthesis.
Exactly.
So I deal with a lot of frequencies and stuff.
Yes.
And I feel like you can, a musician, we can tap into the frequencies and we know how to deal with them. You might be humans that get attracted to those frequencies. So you get attracted to that.
What I will say, they're going to resonate.
Resonate, yeah.
That's a key word. They're going to resonate. Like they're going to be like, okay,
same key.
The frequency is here, and my knowledge of frequency is here. I cannot get that knowledge, but I can raise my frequency, and after I'm going to resonate with that knowledge and be able to apply it in my life, right? That's the same thing. You know, we resonate, and that comes from the heart. I can expand about that. That's resonating.
Yeah, it's
right?
like when you tune a violin or a piano or a guitar, and you get that key, then you're in this harmony.
Tuning fork need to resonate.
Yeah, rather than being in dissonance or being in noise or discordance. Yes. So, like, I think some people are a very discordant kind of lifestyle that they're kind of out of sync.
So it's very important for that little girl. So there's 3 case scenario. We all understand she's going to attract that guy. So case scenario number 1, what may happen to her? Well, I'm sure we know people like that. In your life, I know in my life, that people get stuck in that relationship for the rest of their life. She may marry that guy and and stay in an abusing relationship for the rest of her life. Case scenario number 1.
Like a codependent type of thing, right?
Yeah, it is. Codependence when it's not good for you, right? But you still cannot help it, right? That's a program in the subconscious mind. That's what codependency is. It has nothing to do with your conscious mind, right? It has to do everything with subconscious mind. Well, that's why you say, well, case scenario number 2 is going to explain it. So case scenario number 2, she may get with that guy. We know she's going to get with that guy. And after she said, no, that's too much. I cannot handle it, right? And get another guy, and maybe have kids along the way and lots of suffering, right? And most of the women, what they're telling me, I'm done with men. They're not good for me. I'm done. No more relationship, please. I'm done with men. So it means they have more awareness, right? But they still didn't heal. Remember, they didn't resolve the problem. So a typical woman who will resolve the problem, it's like she will attract somebody or resonate, attract somebody that's totally different, that is kind, that is nurturing, that respect her, that see her as an equal. That's how you healed. That's how that program, you're done with it. Because you can learn from life experiences. The problem, good luck, it takes so much suffering and so much time.
Yeah. But it's like a lot of times people don't learn the lesson they continue to like
because the program is still running, sir.
it's still running there, and it just
It's
like
nobody's fault. It's
yeah, it's that
nobody's
loop.
fault.
Yeah, it's a loop.
Yeah.
They get stuck in a bad loop and they can't get out of the loop. Like,
I call that the subconscious stress loop. And it's running always behind the scene. You're not aware of. That's why it's nobody's fault, Of course, they're going to suffer, but they don't want to suffer consciously, right? It's this program that's still up and running. And when a program is running and you don't stop it, it's not going to stop by itself, right? You need to have
end up eating up all the
intervention.
CPU, and it's like locking up the computer and crashing it. Like in the program, eventually that loop will crash the program, which will crash the whole thing.
Some people can commit suicide, right? I mean, they are so desperate. So it's a possibility. And case scenario number 3, so what may happen, it's like she's going to come and see maybe an hypnotherapist, a good one, or somebody like me that does mind clearing. So now the question is what mind clearing does. Well, it's like when you've got a computer, right? We were talking about computer, right? It's easy, right? So step number 1, there's 3 steps. Step number 1, you're going to delete the limiting belief.
Yeah,
and step number 2, you're going to download empowering one instead. So it means you don't need to figure out what are the limiting beliefs. That's the biggest mistake that there is in my field. You want to use 5 or 10% of your mind, right? To figure out the 95% of your mind. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to do it.
It's not going to work, right? You can use your analytical mind, whatever you want, which is only 5 to 10% of your mind, by the way. You can use that whatever you want. It's not going to work. That's the biggest mistake. You don't need to identify it. And that people are in shock when I tell them, you don't need to know. I know what's the cause, right? And so let me put some clarification. So that's number 2. It's you download, it's a customized download program, right? And after step number 3, you want to create that. You want to make sure that's going to manifest in your life, right? Because here we go. Here's the problem that I've got with the law of attraction, right? So the law of attraction is like basically you need to have your thought and your emotion in alignment. Like that you can resonate. So you can resonate with something, but if you don't take action, that's a fantasy in your head. So the law of manifestation, this is where the goodies are, because you want to make sure you manifest in your life, right? You see what I mean?
Actualize, like you self-actualize. Like if you're a musician and you don't actually take those ideas and bring them into the world, and
you don't make music,
they don't get there. Like if you don't ever put it out into the ether, it just stays in.
The way I will say, the way I will compare it, it's like you've got a melody in your head and you don't play.
Yeah.
You don't play it. You see, that's the way. So you can have all the melody in your head and you don't play it. So how are you going to share it? How are you going to know how it sounds really? How are you going to be able to add this instrument and not this instrument and make sure that it's like, okay, the bass needs to be louder, more volume or whatever. How are you going to be able to really create? Because creation is manifestation.
Yeah, you have to actually do it. But the risk, like some people are risk averse because like, it might not be perfect.
Because there's a program. It's a program behind the scene. Everything comes down to it. I'm sorry to have to say that, but that's the reality. That's the reality. That's what happens. Let's imagine a triangle, sir. And inside, you've got limiting belief, right? On top of a triangle, if you've got limiting belief, you're going to have negative thought. On the base on the right, you're going to have overwhelming emotion because of a negative thought. And on the left side of that triangle, you're going to have non-desirable behavior and unproductive action, right? So your result is not going to be good. Let me give you an example. Let's say my dad told me you're a loser. So my limiting belief is I am a loser. So I'm going to think I'm a loser. I'm going to feel like a loser. I'm going to behave like a loser. I'm going to take action like a loser. I say, I knew it. I knew I was a loser, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the loop, that's the subconscious stress loop right there.
Yeah.
And so
So
what happened, you're going to feel even more like a loser. You're going to think, oh, I thought I was a loser, but I'm more than a loser. And that's going to,
you confirmed
that's,
it.
that's going to reinforce it, not even confirm, reinforce that limiting belief, right? That I'm a loser, right? And you cannot get out of that because you reinforce all the time you take action. So what if we can get rid of that program, right? So how can we do that, right? How can we talk the same language that the subconscious mind? Well, subconscious mind can interact with us. That's why we're creative, right? But one of the main things is called dreaming. So when you remember a dream, what do you remember from a dream? There's always a picture or a movie. I never had anybody told me, I remember my dream, only the smell of it. No way. There's always a picture associated with that. So that's how the subconscious mind works with pictures. That's why it can store so many information at once, because it's a picture with all the symbolism. So I will ask you, let's see if you've got things you want to reprogram, right? Okay, whatever it is, I will say visualize what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Get a picture, and that's the representation of your limiting belief. That's all we need to know, right? The subconscious mind knows you will come up with that picture right away, and so we after delete that picture. There's a special programming, but you are doing it. You are sending that program. I'm just a guide.
Mm-hmm.
And after I will say you, okay, we're done with this. So now visualize totally the opposite of that picture, right? And a picture that you absolutely love. That's going to be your empowering belief. And maybe you'll be walking on the beach, right? Or things like that. And so for you, the symbolism for your subconscious mind walking on the beach can be totally different from mine. It's probably totally different, man. You see what I mean? So we don't have to research to identify, to muscle test, to do all that. No, you're getting the information. You're healing yourself by yourself.
It's like an affirmation.
That's what is amazing.
Yeah,
you don't have to have permission, but not only that, you don't have to trust me. That because I learn different technique. I will tell you, sir, all that negative emotion of anger, blah blah, is creating that. Okay, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. You see what I mean? Right? Although I've got 28 years of experience, I was successful at that. But still, the problem is like it's still somebody else. You have to believe somebody else. You have to trust somebody else in order to do that. Now with mind clearing, I'm only a guide, right? I'm just helping you. I'm telling you, of course, I've got a technology. I created that program if you want, right? So I'm telling you and help you to customize it. And you are sending it. So when you empower people to do anything, when you empower people to heal, that's the holy grail of healing, period. There's no better way than that. There's no better way than that.
It just seems like, it seems like society always wants people to look for the outer or the external, like magic bullet, magic pill. Where like if like being a Buddhist, a lot of times like I spend time chanting and focusing on where I want to be, like an affirmation, like empowerment, like where do I want to see myself? Where do I want to see my family? And I'll focus and kind of clear myself into like a chant. And I follow this practice like Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism, with like Japanese former Buddhism, but a lot of times it's actually like this idea of these affirmations and actually speaking what you want and actually making it, not taking it from inside and bringing it out. Right. And so a lot of it's all about like what you're doing, not what somebody else did to you or what somebody else can do for you, but what you can kind of do for yourself.
So the main problem we've got, it's called the hero complex. So it means that in order to save us, we need to count on somebody else, right? But ourselves, no, we think that we sell ourselves short. We think we're not powerful enough. And quite frankly, that's what we've been told. You only 5-10% of your mind, right? I mean, you need somebody else to help you and all that. I said, no, you don't. When you can unleash the formidable power of subconscious mind, This is it. Let me give you the big picture of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's pretend the sun is God, is awareness, whatever you want to call it, is like the divinity, right? That's the sun, right? And after the sun create with a spark, create your spirit. And this is what we call non-duality. So it means there's no good and bad. This is all there is and has ever been. This is it. That's where you're coming from. That's what it's a part of your spirit, right? That's your spirit. And after, so you've got the sky and it's cloudy, right? And after you've got you as a person. So sometimes the sky is so thick that people think there's no sun. They never
Mm-hmm.
seen the sun. They never experience it, right? And so what are the clouds? That's your limiting belief,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you get rid of limiting belief, right, now you can start to feel a ray of sun shining through and you can feel the warmth of the sun, right? So you become better, more connected to your spirit. And more limiting belief that you get rid of, the less cloudy your sun is. And more you feel the power of your spirit, more you live with your spirit. When you live more with your spirit and you've got less limiting belief, if you look at the triangle, you've got now more empowering belief at the center of a triangle. Meaning now you've got more positive thought. Meanings now you've got more supportive emotion. Meanings now you've got more desirable behavior. Meaning now you've got very productive action and you can get what you want.
So that means that you would have less fear, right? Because I think a lot of things are motivated by fear.
It can be fear, it can be phobia, it can be anything that, let's even zoom out again, right? And so, or zoom in a little bit. So, how does it work? When I say thought is like, I'm going to talk about the three H. And since you know about Japanese, you're going to understand the third one. So that's the head, the heart, and what they call the hara, right? Japanese people, they will kill themselves traditionally with a knife and go to the center of gravity of their body, but it's called the hara. That's why they say harakiri, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hara will be the translation, your gut, basically, right? So if your thinking, your emotion, and your action and behavior are aligned, because your empowering belief, your belief are aligned with all that, you're going to create what you want. You're going to get what you want. The problem is like, oh, I'm going to start a diet today. All right. So my mind says I'm going to start a diet, and my emotions go say, oh man, it's tough. Last time, you started the diet, but after, you get it back in 2 weeks. Right. So you're not going to take the action, or you're going to take the action is not going to be aligned. So what I will do with mind clearing, what we do, okay, with the thought, so the emotion is off, right? So we want to make sure that now we take that resistance, I call that the resistance of healing, resistance of transformation, and resistance of growth we may have, and we apply the mind clearing on that, like that the emotion after become aligned with the thinking. And if we procrastinate, it means your action, your behavior is not right. So we align that. So we call that coherence. In my field, they focus only on the head and the heart,
Mm-hmm.
which is the law of attraction. That's the law of attraction right there. The law of manifestation is when you clean the hara and the gut, because we want to manifest that into the world. Because we are a spirit living a healthy experience, right? A human experience, if you want. But in order to live a human experience, you need to experience it.
Yeah.
It needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
It
You
needs
have
to
to
happen. That's the
actually.
point.
Well,
That's
yeah.
the entire point. You see what I mean?
Yeah, because like the people have a tendency to want safety, but safety to me is like antithetical to creativity. Being a creative. So a lot of times, in a creative space, there's a canon, right? There's an established structure of what something should be. So you think about like jazz, like bebop, and then there's fusion. Fusion goes into like modal things where you have experimentation that's not always set, right? Where you have like a different form. It might be more traditional, more rules, more constraints, and constraints allow you to do some things, right? But when you go into the areas where it's less constrained, it's more in the moment. Some people in the canon would say, well, that's wrong, right? That you shouldn't go there because that's not real jazz. Real
Nothing
jazz
is
is
wrong.
bebop, and modal jazz is this noise.
But that become a dogma. You see, that become a dogma after, right? That's the problem, you know. Rules, yeah, that give them a frame, or you can express you're more hip hop, you're more like that. But you know, I mean, boundaries are meant to be crossed. That's how you push. That's how you create. Really, it's when it's out of nothing. I mean, in my field, what I'm telling, you know, people who are in my field, I'm telling you that they don't even believe me. They think it's why you don't even want to find out, you know, what are the limiting beliefs. I say no, that's our problem. You
When they
know,
get stuck in
so
the, you get stuck in the foundational pillars. Like if you're in a
it's a
foundation,
dogma.
like yeah, it's like it's just a, like only the only real classic thing to learn is Shakespeare. But maybe you want to learn something from a different culture. Maybe you want to learn like an Eastern writer. But no, Shakespeare is the writer. That's the only writer that is classic. They like you don't need to look at anybody else. So then they get stuck in that, and then you can't
Well,
see other
they get
perspectives.
stuck, but it's because that's all they know very well, and that's how they get their power. So
Hmm.
it can be dangerous now. Oh, I'm going to venture to some other things, right? And maybe I'm not going to be right, or maybe I'm going to make mistakes. So when you think you become the master, you stop learning. When you still think that you're a student and there are so many things you don't learn, you have to learn, that's where the goodies are. When you think you've got it, that's where you lose everything.
Yeah, when you think like if you don't realize there's a newfound sound. If you think you found all the sounds, all the scales, everything, like, but there's no newfound sound. That's when you get stagnant. Like if you're willing to like, hey, I'm gonna invert this, I'm gonna convert this, I'm gonna turn this thing inside out, I'm gonna flip it around, I'm gonna cross different scales, I'm gonna use non-traditional, like in music, like we have a piano, you have guitars, like, but then you have non-traditional input devices for music where you could go beyond what a piano could do. The 88 key piano, that's a structure. But what if you had something that was a grid instead? That means you would cross into lanes that you couldn't cross into on the piano. Somebody would say, well, that's not the way, because the way is only on the piano. you know.
So that's why, you know, I already have a kind of a renegade spirit. I think I got that from my dad, right? Because I could see this is not working, you know. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm sorry. And so it's good to have a renegade mind. That's how the pure creativity comes, you know, and got a bigger impact, right?
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, how does it work? Well, so we say we've got the mind, we've got the heart, and we've got the hara, right? So when you get rid of limiting belief, what happens? You've got more an open mind. So it means when you've got a problem to resolve, right? What's happening, instead of seeing only one solution, you're going to see two or three solutions, right? And after, because there's less trauma, your heart is less heavy, so your heart start to open up. Because this is the biggest problem in our civilization. We are too much in our head. So
Mm-hmm.
we're always thinking, resolving problem. But when you resolve a problem, guess what? There's another problem. That's why if you look, 80% of the average people's thoughts are negative. 95% of them, they are repetitive from the day before. So we call our life scenario and script is always the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's all negative. So all the energy is going to the head and the
Yeah.
heart is closed. Why do you think cardiovascular disease is the number one killer in this country? It's not only about diet. There's that a component also that the heart has been shut down. And we have been taught we need to use only our head, which is a bigger
Yeah.
mistake
Yeah.
because
It's locked in a box.
the way the body works and make decision is wrong. Because we all only use an analytical mind, which got a place for it. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not our only mind. So here's the way it works. So you open your mind, right? And after, because there's less energy going to, you got more peace of mind, right? So there's less energy going to your head. Now you've got more energy going to your heart. You start to open up, right? You start to feel more, right? So, and after you can take the action that align with your head, your heart, and things like that. So the way it works, let me give you an example. So I've got this decision to make. I'm going to see all those possibilities, but which one to choose? You follow your heart.
Yeah.
It's an English expression. And after, so this is masculine, right? Peace is totally masculine. Feeling, obviously, is more feminine. And the creation in the belly is the combination of masculine and feminine.
Both.
When a woman carries a baby in the belly, there's the sperm and the ovum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the creation. The creation is masculine and feminine together. And that's how we create, right? So now, how do expression in English? Peace of mind. I follow my heart. Oh, you had the guts to do it, masculine. You had the gut feeling that will happen, feminine. You see, it's in our language.
Yeah.
That's it. And the creation is the combination of masculine and feminine.
That's interesting because
That's how you create.
Some
That's
people
the only way.
have a tendency to talk about like the divine feminine, and they leave out the masculine part of the creativity.
No, both are important. That's how you create. I mean, that's how you make babies, for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, it just seems like to me, it's like there's a lot of people that are stuck in like these sequential processes. What I find when I talk to a lot of artists, and when you really go down to it, a lot of times things are not sequential. The things are like the people are looking at things in different states at different points in time, and it's not always like the flow. Like they're not always storyboarding something out. They're not always. Sometimes it's like I threw it at the wall. I took something from here, I took something from there, and it's not in a sequence. Like if you look at films are sometimes directors do scene the middle scene at the beginning, the end scene at some other point. They do the scenes different. They don't do them in sequential order. They do them in all different types of sequences that you're like, wow, the end of the movie is being filmed at the beginning of the movie. And you're like, how is that?
It's called restrained creativity to me. It's like when there's no rules, that's pure creativity.
Yeah.
You have no rules.
Well, yeah, because there's a wide open space.
You conduit from a higher.
Well, the muse. That kind of idea of the muse, but the muse, the kind of things, the Victorians kind of thought of it as external, but it's really, it's your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And that you can channel
your spirit.
Yeah.
That's coming from your spirit, sir.
It's coming from inside. And there's some external input, maybe from around you, that you're picking up on. But it's a lot of it is all that subconscious that you're tapped in and you're able to do it. So if you're in a flow state, like as a jazz musician, and you're playing something and somebody plays a chord that wasn't expected and you go with it because you go with your gut, you go with your 10,000 hours that your instrument, you trust yourself. You just are able to evolve the song without having it written on the page.
So bottom line, I totally agree. Bottom line, when the less limiting belief, the more creative you can be. I have no doubt about that. Because you've got less filtered. Remember the cloud of the filters, right? So you've got less cloud. So now you're more connected to creativity. I mean, the divine creativity. Is there anything better than that, right?
Yeah. If you're out there and you don't, like you get some people, they get in a creative moment. Like if you're public speaking, you got that, you got your teleprompter, and you're reading off the teleprompter, but you're dying, right? Like nobody is getting it.
And everybody knows there's a telecom.
Right. So you got to make a decision. Well, I'm going to drop that teleprompter. I'm going to just do it from my gut. Right. Or do you say, I wrote it and I'm going to just run the teleprompter to the end and just go down in flames because that was the plan and you're being logical. I'm going to follow the plan.
You kill the creativity, right?
Yeah.
You kill your spontaneity. You kill all the things that you want because you know what they say about public speaking. People will notice more. I think as far as information, they got like a tiny percentage. It's the body language. It's like the non-said things that get people either to trust you or not, or things like that, right?
Yeah.
So let me give you an example how the mind clearing is powerful. And you can go to my website, like you put here, themindclearing.com, and you go into testimonial. And we can get treat pain in average, in 2 visits, even if you had pain for. So I'm not talking about this is some mysticism concept. This is very practical. Remember, you need to experience it in your life. I treated a woman, she had a hoarding problem. She tried everything, all the things on TV, they told her, nothing works. 1 visit, sir, unbelievable. 1 visit, she was done with that. She brought a container, they get rid of everything. The family they love me. Because they say, now we can finally, function in this house. I mean, and testimonial after testimonial. So that's why there's 3 things. You've got the mind clearing basic. You've got the body clearing, which is about pain and symptom to get rid of that. And after, you've got the goal and success clearing to get what you want in life, right? And so all of that is very practical, right? We talk about, things about, the sun and all that with example. That's to zoom out and get the big picture, because I think this technique came out. I had insight, the insight. You're talking about creativity. Let me explain to you how it happens to me, right? So I'm treating patient. I'm starting to do things out of the blue. So if I use my analytical mind and say, oh, come on, you're a doctor, what are you doing, right? I mean, or maybe like the fear things, or maybe they're not going to like it, or I'm not going to do it, and blah, blah, blah. No, you just have to flow with it and see what happens. Worst case scenario, they say, I don't like what you're doing. Okay, next. Yeah. I mean, who cares, right? And I use pain because pain, either you have it or you don't have it. You cannot fake it. People cannot fake it. So I use pain to monitor the progress I was making in my creation, because I had instant feedback, right? It's like you play the guitar, it sounds good or it doesn't sound good, right? That was kind of the same thing, right, for me.
Yeah, instant feedback.
And so I use pain a lot for that. And I knew that when I was able to get rid of a pain, a chronic pain, like long-term pain and stress, when I was able to, the person, I was guiding the person to be able to heal himself and herself, I said, okay, now we are under something.
Yeah, because you want that immediate feedback loop.
Yeah.
And
that's
then,
so
yeah, because like
if
there's
nothing better than that. There's nothing better than that, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
because it's
immediate, it's an hour, right? But at least if what you did worked or not. Because you can say, oh yeah, okay, now you're going to manifest, but you have to wait and blah, 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 blah. No, you want to see, okay, is it working or it's not working? I live in a state it's called misery state. It's called the show me state, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like, the show me. Well, that's kind of an American thing. People want that. That's like the world we live in.
Fair
people
enough.
want that. Yeah, they want the instant progress. They want to know.
Not instant. Like, show me that it works.
Yeah, they want to know
because I understand people will be skeptic. This is new. I know people in my field, they think I'm crazy. I say, okay, whatever. Why don't you get a treatment? You fully experience that. By the way, I've got 20% off if people want to get a treatment, right?
Is that what applies right now?
That's it. If they want to learn that the full package, they've got 50% off. We need more people. Why? Because imagine there's mind clearing practitioner all over, right? And after you've got a problem with health, the mind practitioner is going to help you to heal yourself, right? If you've got a problem with relationship, the mind clearing practitioner is going to guide you to resolve your relationship problem, but you're going to, by tapping into your subconscious mind. Remember, you visualize what you don't want. You visualize what you want, right? It's basically when you've got a program, it's not serving you any longer. You're going to delete that program and you're going to get another program that serves you better. Like that, the screen of life, and the screen's going to be, you're going to be faster, you're going to be more efficient, and you're going to get what you want.
Yeah.
So imagine if this happened. We don't even need doctors as far as long-term pain and stress. And I'm a doctor. We don't need them. Why? Because you are empowered to heal yourself. This is so precious, because in the same way, remember we talk about we are in a intersection here. Either we've gone into transhumanism, right? Which is they want an AI controllers. Basically, that's what this is about. So, right? Or we go and connect more into our higher self. connect more into our spirit and what we are as human beings. We always have been. The sun and the spirit always has been there, just the cloud that we want to get rid of.
Yeah.
And we have been told that you cannot get rid of your cloud. You have been told that all you are, it's like 50% of your mind. You have been told that you are only your self-identity and that you are not a spirit living physical experience.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times in the world that we live in business, people treat people like a widget. They treat them like a bot. You know, they just replaceable, right? If you burn somebody out, you just put another widget, put another person on the assembly line, put another person in the cube. That they're not really valued because they're not looking at every human being to me has a unique spark. Everybody is a creative. That is like, it's not for just Shakespeare. It's not just for Hendrix. It's not for Orson Welles. Everybody can be a creative. Everybody is creative, but they don't believe it. And the difference is the people you see on the stage, they actually believe it enough to actually put it out there, right? To actually be in the
and
space.
that's the point with limiting belief, that proves that we're all creators. We just blocked. And the limiting belief can block us, like we cannot feel the sun, right? And sometimes, as I started that, example, I say sometimes they don't even know there's a sun. They think that the sun doesn't even exist. And some people, like you said, they think they cannot create, right? And as far as a job, I work a little bit as an employee, right? Maybe 2 years of my life. And I understood very, very soon that this is not for me.
Yeah.
And I've been, having that boat rental, and I've been, now being a physician for 28 years. Right? So, but yes, what I've learned as far as healing is like everybody's different, right? And everybody's got his own gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just want to, okay, what is the goal of life? To me, it's to grow, right?
Yeah.
To become the person that you're supposed to be, right? To they say reach your higher potential. I think it's like become the person that you're supposed to be, right? And the person you're supposed to be is not your conscious mind, for sure. We already established that, right? So you need really to tap into your subconscious mind and be able to be, they call that to be like a superman or super conscious. It's not super. That's who you are. That's who you are to start with.
Yeah.
That's
well, like a child, thinks they can be, a pilot. A child thinks they can be the president until somebody, or they think they can be an astronaut. You have these very lofty things when you're a child. It's like, yeah, why? Like you jump on the bike and you don't care, right, that you can't ride it because you want to ride it. You jump on the skateboard and you don't care that you don't know how to do it. You get older, you might be less willing to do that. Maybe you have a big epiphany and you go skydiving because they finally start realizing that, oh yeah, I'm not afraid of it. I'm going to try it. But a lot of people, like, they don't have that childlike curiosity or they're not willing to jump on the skateboard when they're 45 if they never did it, right? They're not going to do it.
To mention the age, here's the problem. There's a difference between getting old and aging. Aging is a natural process. Getting old is, like you said, losing your childlike spark. It's to losing that curiosity. It's just losing in some way your innocence. Do I want to be an adult? Heck no. No. Do I want to make adult decision? Yes, but I don't want to be an adult. I want to keep that spark. I want to keep that connection, because when a baby is born, it's connected to spirit. That's why they got those big eyes and what the heck is going on, or whatever. They don't even think. They live in the moment. And after what's happening, our past is the problem, right? Yeah. Because all those trauma, there's another way, if you allowed me, there's another way we can get limiting belief. It's called PTSD, right? Or fear or phobia. So let me give you an example, right? So let's say I'm in Iraq, I'm a military guy, I'm in Iraq, and I'm pulling the trigger, and by mistake, I kill my best friend. I come back to America, and I'm a mess. I'm diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Or syndrome, right? And my wife, I become depressed. I don't want to do anything, so, maybe I divorce, like it happened to me, right? and sabotage my relationship, right? And after I become homeless, like lots of Vietnam veterans, that came back, and become maybe addiction, right? Maybe I've got legal or illegal drugs and all that. So my life goes down the drain. Why? Because there's still a part of my soul, right, that is pulling that trigger.
Mm-hmm. You can't get out
So
of
I
that
call
loop.
that the past you. So what if we can bring the past you to the present? There's no more trauma. There's no more memory of it. We're done. And
Mm-hmm.
the depression is left. The feeling of guilt, the feeling of shame is gone. That's that simple. It's not complicated. You just need to talk the same language, right?
Yeah,
So
you just got
I
to get the right.
past you. Yeah.
You got to
And
get the right
program
therapist
that stuff.
to talk to you. Like
Therapists won't work
yeah.
because self-talk therapy
Oh, yeah. You have to get. Somebody
is
has to
5
get
or 10% of your mind, sir. How do you
Mhm.
expect? I'm not saying it won't help. I'm saying it's not going to work to totally get rid of that program. It cannot. It just
Well,
cannot.
what I'm trying to get to is maybe they need to talk to you.
Well, they need to learn that technique, quite frankly, because
Yeah,
that will get better results. And I
or at
know
least find
because
find the same path that you found. If they find it with you, or
whatever the bottom line, you need to talk. The bottom line is you need to talk the same language that the subconscious mind. Be able to go to fast and very efficiently to get rid of a limiting belief, replace them with empowering belief, and make sure that after you can manifest that in your life. That's the bottom line. Whatever, if you have to be, if I have personally to be like upside down and do like that, and it works for people, I will do it. I have
mm-hmm.
no problem. Whatever it takes.
It's gonna
As
work.
far, but it's so much better when you are empowering people to do it.
Yeah.
Because you can learn the use if you want. You can learn that techniques, and you can help your loved one. You can treat yourself and help your loved one. How
Mm-hmm.
empowering it is. Like you've got your kid is in pain, you can help him.
Well,
You
I
don't
think
have to wait
that's
for no doctors, and all that. Of course, for emergency room, they are very good. Don't get me wrong, right?
yeah.
If
But
I've got a broken bone, I want somebody that put back together a surgeon, right? I want the anesthesia and the painkiller, no doubt about that. But for long-term pain and stress, they are terrible. They are the number third leading causes of death in this country, according to the American AMA, American Medical Association. That's their own stat, so it's probably even worse than we think.
mm-hmm. Well,
So
yeah,
why? Because remember when we started the program, they don't find what's causing your problem. They just address the symptom.
yeah. You were
They
just
don't
kind of
cause. It
you
cannot work.
solving it with external pills or
They
you know.
just cannot work because I can debate a medical doctor in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, I say, okay, do you address the cause of the problem? If they say yes, I give them the pill. I say, so you mean because the lack of a pill was causing the problem? That's absurd.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
done. We're done.
yeah. That doesn't make sense.
We're done. That's it. But yet, we are over medicated, right?
Wow, I
That's the
think
way the
people
system
want
is.
they see something physical and they think that's going to work. And what's hard is the work we've been talking about is like going inner and actually like the looking glass self examination.
Yeah.
The idea that you can change, which is radical to some people because
Yeah.
they're stuck in loops and they don't think that that's possible. So it's a mindset.
And they have been told that too. Don't
yeah,
forget. You
yeah.
are, you have to be dependent, right? You have to be dependent on a president, right? You have to depend. Look at all the movie and the hero. The hero is gonna come and
Well,
save
yeah, they
us.
gotta come in and save you, like,
That's
swoop in.
not. That's the savior complex. That's not the way it, it
Yeah.
works.
Well, if you when you see people who are really successful, it's like it's kind of that the self-made person is really the person that kind of dove in and actually they didn't just go from 0 to 100. A lot of times you'll see people who are the very successful people, they made mistakes and then they learn
Yeah.
from the mistakes and then they actually work
Well,
with people. It's not all by themselves, right? So they learned how to kind of deal with their own roadblocks or their ceilings, and they broke their glass ceiling. They
but
broke their glass
The main thing's never been on victim mode. Again, remember we talk about that with my dad, right? They have never been on victim mode. They're not blaming anybody. They say, okay, how can I change it? And I cannot change myself to change it because that's the only way you can change.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Long-lasting change, that's the only way. And so you are not in, we are more in, okay, what's the opposite of victim mode? It's called, in my book, you become a creator. You create. Mm-hmm. That's the opposite of being a victim. It's being a creator.
Yeah. I love creators, and that's who I talk to. We already hit our hour mark. We always faster than we ever expect. We always hit the hour, but we've had a really great conversation. We've got your mindclearing.com.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and like we said, we brought this up there. There are people today, if they got the 50% off, you got the 20% off. We've got the link there for the mindclearing.com. That's fully clickable. We've been on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Later today, we will push on to multiple platforms, including Spotify video podcast, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon podcast, and many more other platforms that will be available. We're going to provide a landing page that you'll be able to give to your audience, and they can pick whatever platform they want to go back and listen to it or view it in whatever space they want to. But I want to thank you for being a guest on the Family Electric Coach podcast.
Yeah, I will say I want to close with two things that is very important. The number one, there's always hope for you. If you think there's no answer for you, if you think you have been everywhere and try everything, trust me, there's help on the way. Okay. And number two, which is the most important things, we said that, but I just want to finish by that. You are so powerful. You have no idea how powerful you are. That's all I have to say.
Well, I want to thank you. I think that's a great place to start and to end today on a Saturday. But I want to thank you for being a guest again. And this is out there in the world on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Those links are active. And I will send you the rest of the links by the end of the day. But thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.